Mine's coming through. It looks like. Sounds like I'm coming through. Okay. Good evening. I'm late, so we have to start. I'm like 4 minutes late already. It's already a problem. So, no. We'll make up the time somewhere. We'll be fast. I don't know. So. Good evening. Welcome to the 42nd graduation. I triple checked and then I had it wrong and I went out and attached the pictures on the wall. And last year's class are not up there yet. So sorry. And this year's class, you might want to double check and make sure you get up there at some point before you get too far gone. Just a thought. So this evening, this is a little different graduation than we've had in past years. We're still going to have a lot of the usual things. We're going to give the awards, we're going to give the diplomas, then we're going to take them back and keep them until the last day, because that's the way we are. But in addition to that, we're going to spend a little time and have a few memories. And so that'll be our additional theme for tonight. I hear Dr. Friedman's going to talk about some memorable grads. I hear some faculty and residents have some memories that are going to get shared through the evening. But first, I'm taking an initiative here to share my 5 least memorable graduations plus an honorable mention. So this will be fairly quick, but hopefully you'll forget these just as quickly as I did. Of course, honorable mention is last year's COVID graduation. None of you were there. Well, Dr. Friedman was, and a couple of the graduates from last year were, and Crystal was, and I was. But because we were in our lobby, we zoomed it out to families. We couldn't have everybody there, so it was very forgettable. Known for the fist bump instead of the handshake, and the social distancing with masks. So fortunately, that's all gone, and we're back to much more normal life, and we're here together tonight. So we're going to forget that one very quickly. My 5th least memorable graduation is 2007. This was my first graduation here. Dr. Cable was the keynote speaker here. I have a nice, lovely picture, if I don't go the wrong direction, of Dr. Cable speaking. Some of you will remember Dr. Cable. He was a cardiologist in town. He taught all of our residents. He lectured every month at our conferences. Tremendous teacher. But that particular night, he was asked to do the keynote address, and it became very political and very uncomfortable very quickly for everybody in the room. And I don't think we've had someone who wasn't a residency faculty member do a keynote since then. But here's a look at that class. They were still happy. They got their diplomas, so that part's good. My 4th least memorable graduation was the 2015 graduation. This one is not memorable because one of our residents, Dr. Shake, Ronald Shake, he still practices at Mercy One. He was a very entertaining guy, but around this time, those of you who live here might remember that the Popeyes opened on San Martin in front of Lowe's, and there were initially huge lines for days and days to get in and get food. And Dr. Shake loved Popeyes. And I'm not even sure what award he was presenting or how he got up front, but his talk, his time introducing an award, turned into his thank yous to Popeyes and an incredible endorsement of Popeyes. Everyone was laughing and in stitches, and not sure how we got Popeyes endorsed at graduation, but we did. But just so you all know, Dr. Shake was always an entertaining individual, and you can see our nurses and Crystal had a lot of fun with him even that very night. My 3rd least memorable graduation was 2013. We had graduation at the Elks Club downtown. They had done some remodeling, and it was still dark and kind of dreary in the basement. But it was really not memorable because the residents that year did a memory presentation from their 3 years in the form of Jeopardy questions. And no one other than the residents understood any of the questions and answers. In fact, here's one of them, and you have to see this. So that's Austin Powers admitting me. I know it's too small, you can't see. And what it says is, question, if Austin Powers is Dr. Royce, who is this mini-me? And I still don't remember what the answer was, and it made no sense at the time either. So let's hope our memories are not that unmemorable after tonight. My second least memorable was the 2011 graduation at Gallagher Blue Dorn. Beautiful environment. Everyone was dressed up. It was a beautiful evening. Everything went really well. But for some reason that I still don't remember, the faculty decided to do a parody skit of the graduating residents. So yes, we have faculty dressed as residents with the signs on to identify themselves. And our behavioralist at the time, Cindy Franklin, asked us questions and we answered as the residents. I believe the faculty has done no more theater performances or skits since. It was so non-memorable. And an hour long. Finally, to keep it short and let you eat, my number one least memorable graduation. This is so unmemorable that I'm not even sure which year it was. And Dr. Friedman's maybe going to help me figure this out. I think it was 2012 when we were at the aisle. Oh, you think it was 2010? See, that's what I can't remember what year it was. It was so unmemorable, but
it plays.
Was it 2008? So anyway, I have pictures from the aisle because in 2012 we were at the aisle, and we had a beautiful class and a beautiful evening. It was upstairs, a really weird room. There's a big post. Most people in the room couldn't even see the stage. But I think the experts here are telling me it was 2008 or 2010. Dr. Friedman, in his presentation, decided to make a phone call 30 years in the future and talk to each of us about what we were doing at that point. And let's just say it was very not memorable. I hope instead, what we can remember Dr. Friedman for is his beautiful up-close pictures of flowers, several of which we have hanging in our office and still do and will enjoy looking at for many years to come. So, without any more memories of unmemorable graduations, let's try to have a more memorable graduation tonight. Enjoy your dinner. When we get close to the end of dinner, Dr. Chang will begin our program for the residents. Thank you.
Hi everybody. This is our slideshow. Just all the fun things that we had gone through. Part 1 is work, Part 2 is fun, Part 3 is life. And enjoy dinner.
Sorry. Awesome.
Are you ready for service
Do we want to just like this kind of music?
You ready for service now?
Yes, please. Sorry. Yep.
Thank you.
Grab the because they're kind of like right in front of the words. Not from this angle, those guys, like from the center are right in front of like the words. Yeah, the flowers. The words. The flowers. The words of the slide These guys are like from like our angle, they're like right in front of me. No. The camera looks good.
Where do you want it?
So is that the first day? you see that? Look, man. Your friends were there. Look, man. That's right.
Are you going to be distinguished graduate? Yeah,
I'm just looking and I'm like looking the other way.
That's not good practice.
My student doesn't know how.
start with the So again, my name is Andrew, and
I'm Elise.
we're gonna kind of MC our program flow along. So we have some presentations and speeches before we get to the point of handing out awards and diplomas. So we're going to start with introducing our keynote speaker, and then we'll go on. So it is my pleasure to introduce our graduation speaker, Dr. Adam Royce. Dr. Royce originally is from rural North The oldest of three brothers, after serving in Peace Corps in Cameroon, Dr. Royce entered medical school at UNC Chapel Hill. Also completing a master's of public health during his time there. Upon graduation, Dr. Royce relocated to the Cedar Valley for his wife's position as a professor of sociology at UNI. He completed residency through NEIMEF and has been faculty here since. He is an absolutely fantastic academic panel position. He has a knack for staying up to date on the most evidence-based guidelines, and with his MPH, he interprets statistical analyses with ease. He has been very important for our class from day one orientation. Dr. Royce.
This is Lon. Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much to the graduating class for asking me to speak tonight. It's a wonderful honor. Stanley, Peter, Shadi, Hepsa, Andrew, and Elise, and Sarah as well. It's been an absolute honor to get to know you all over the last couple of years, and I'm thrilled to speak for you tonight. Thank you all to all the guests who have arrived. I know it's a lot of fun to be here in person after not being here last year. And I'm thankful that you were all able to come and celebrate with us tonight. I'll start by saying, to be honest, I'm always kind of surprised when I'm asked to speak at events like this. For those of you who don't sit through conferences on Wednesday afternoons, I'm the guy who gets up there and drones on about statistics, and coding and billing, and quality improvement, and clinical epidemiology, and scholarly activity. And incredibly drilling topics, but I'm sure we won't talk about that tonight. I'm also not a storyteller like Dr. Britton is, but I can't help my remarks being influenced by him, and I'll take this opportunity to thank him as well as the other faculty for being members as I've been faculty for these last 10 years. Before I started as faculty, we had a dinner with all the faculty, kind of a perfect dinner, and halfway through the meal, Dr. Bob was sitting right to my right, and he looked over at me and he said, "So, is there anything you're kind of nervous about being faculty?" And here you're a third-year resident, and you think, of course there's all this stuff that I'm nervous about. And I shared the story that during medical school, one of the professors had said, you learn about 1/3 of what you need to know in medical school, and you learn about 1/3 of what you need to know in residency. And the rest of what you learn after you graduate. And I barely got that out before Dr. Bob said that's completely false. It's completely wrong. You learn 1% of what you need to know in medical school, and you learn about 10% of what you need to know in residency. And the other 89% is what you learn after you graduate. So tonight, what we're going to do, so I think Dr. Bob is pretty correct after being faculty for 10 years. I think he's got it pretty true. So tonight we're going to do a brief review of what you learned in medical school, what I hope that you learned in residency, and some ideas about what the 90% is that you have left to learn in the rest of your career. So, for those of you who didn't go to medical school, hopefully this is a little summary. So, medical school, 4 years, 4 expensive years. You learn every nook and cranny of the human body. You map the brachial plexus. You learn all the common ways the body goes wrong, and all the common ways, and some of the less common ways. You get good at using mnemonics, blood piles, sticky caps, the H's and the T's. You learn more generic drug names than you ever think you use. You learn how to take a history. You learn how to use a stethoscope. You learn that you need to wash your hands before you see any patient or you'll fail your work. You learn that every patient admitted to the hospital needs a rectal exam. You learn that you can talk about rectal exams and bloody wounds and skin conditions with your classmates while eating lunch, but but not with your family very much. You learn children are not just small adults. You learn that geriatric patients aren't just small adults either. You learn that studying all night long works, but you don't remember things nearly as well as if you have a patient who has that condition. You learn that some experienced doctors are jaded, some doctors are more liked than others, and there's a lot of people who work in the hospital who are really important people that are not doctors. You learn PER-LA, PUMI intact, and RR, no, M/R/G, CTAB, ABG, SND, NEPS. You can diagram a full set of morning labs. You're taught how to take patient notes. You're taught the longer the white coat, the higher the doctor is in the hierarchy. You learn that it's sure nice to have a weekend off, and you're sure glad you don't have to make the decisions or get bad news like the residents do. That about sums it up. 1% of what you need to know, what you learn in medical school. Then comes residency, the 10% part. So you all end up in family medicine. That's where we treat most things for most patients most of the time. Where you learn to address any concern that any patient has as they come to your door, whether they're walking or not, from conception to cradle to grave. It's 3 years. It's a paycheck. But you have little control over your hours and your duties from day to day. Another thing that I remember Dr. Bob always saying is that the first day of residency is his second favorite day of the year, the day the new residents arrive. Over the past 10 years of being faculty, I've come to really appreciate that day as well. Brand new medical school grads. You were all there just 3 years ago. Brand new doctors. Brand new license. Is this one working at all?
Yeah.
Is that better? Yeah. Maybe without echo. As long as it's held up. So you were all there just 3 years ago. Brand new doctors, brand new med school graduates, brand new licenses to practice. The ability to write orders for the first time. And typically loads and loads of trepidation and nervousness. Those first weeks in the hospital, residents always have lots of jitters. It takes hours to admit a patient to the hospital. You have multiple computer systems and you get messed up and mixed up and you can't find the simplest finish. You don't want to give advice to any patient because you know the faculty is going to come behind you and tell them the opposite thing. Nurses ask you a question and you just steer back to them quickly and then turn around and walk away. Presentations during rounds tend to be blind, you repeat yourself, get jumbled up and mix up patients. Every attendee looks for something different, you got to figure out who wants what. It's pretty much the same thing for every single resident. Nervous voices, timid walks down the hall, you're back to talk to that specialist that everybody talks about. And when you go home at the end of the day, you wonder if it's ever going to get easier. And slowly it does. You learn to admit patients by yourself. You go from hour-long appointments in the clinic, down to half an hour, down to 15 minutes. You memorize seemingly automatically doses of common meds. You anticipate your faculty's questions and include it in the presentation before being asked. You get up in front of your peers at conferences. You wake up specialists in the middle of the night and don't even think about it. You call families to let them know their loved ones aren't doing well. You watch patients die. And then you turn around and you tell patients they're pregnant and you test babies. You learn procedures, carry the pager, you transfer patients out to university. You learn how to use your pharmacist, your therapist, your nurses and aides, and you take good care of your patients. You become good at looking things up because you know there's no way to memorize it. If I get emotional, it's my father in the hospital. You learn the value of getting to know patients, how knowing them makes it easier to see them in clinic, and how they learn to trust you and rely on you. You learn how to care for a patient over the course of the disease. You navigate them through a complicated healthcare system. And you work with them when they have symptoms that don't have a clear diagnosis, despite the complete work that they've done. And you learn also that this is not always easy. Each of you, I know, has challenges. Many of you are away from home, away from family and support systems. Some have experienced times of self-doubt, wondering if you made the right choice to become a doctor. You did. Some have to navigate between work and family and And I know you've been torn in at least 2 directions at once in one occasion. And we know that you learned about something about how to take care of yourself during this time. And then there was COVID. I'm not going to say more about that. And now it's graduation day, Dr. Friedman's favorite day, because you no longer walk around hospital rooms and timid. When you knock on a patient's door, it's not unsure. You move with confidence and purpose. You're decisive. You address the needs of patients in front of you, no matter who they are. You challenge your pathway and disagree with that power. You are ready and equipped to go out and practice independently without supervision. Congratulations. This is where the graduation speech might end, but we're only at the 10% part, so we still have that 90% part. So as you get ready to leave from here, you're all going to different places, whether that's urgent care, whether it's outpatient clinics, fellowships, hospitalist work. And as I think about what you're yet to learn, there's really kind of 4 categories that come to mind. The first category, the easy one, is medicine's always changing. We're always learning new information. Tens of thousands of journal articles get published every year. Medicine becomes more and more complex. You will all learn new drugs, new guidelines, new procedures, new diagnoses, new diseases, and you'll interact with whole specialties. As a physician, you will never stop learning. You need to keep up. Some doctors practice 50 years after they graduate the same way they did in residency. That will not be you. It goes beyond just advances in medical knowledge too. AI, artificial intelligence, telemedicine, they're going to change the way that we interact with patients. There's already AI systems that will listen into a conversation between a doctor and a patient and write the complete note, including all the orders that are there, changing and taking charge. Rules for interoperability between computer systems and portable medical records will mean that we spend a lot more time reconciling competing charts. I know we already do that a little bit, but that's only going to get more constant. The pandemic made telehealth common. We learned it overnight, but there's so much more that we can do, and we don't even know how to use the telehealth we have right now. We will be remote patient monitoring at home, and hospital at home programs just springing up across the country. There's a good chance 10 years from now, the way we interact with patients and the way we use our records will be significantly different than it is today. Estimate that accounts for about half of what you'll learn over your careers. The second thing you learn is what it's like to no longer be a trainee. I always thought the best part of finishing residency is having more control over my schedule and what I get to do as a physician. But as you enter practice, you'll find that you don't just spend time taking care of patients. You'll be the leader of every team that you're involved with. You'll shape and determine your environment, consciously or not. You'll supervise other medical staff, you'll supervise learners, you'll get to know other specialists and become their friends. You'll be recruited for committees and administrative tasks. You'll become involved in organizations, and communities, and medical associations. In each of these, you will advance your leadership skills and your ability to work with others outside of patient care. The third thing you will learn is that you need to advocate for family medicine. Besides the patient, family docs are arguably the most important members of the healthcare team. We know that when there are more family docs in the community, health improves. But not all patients, not all physicians, administrators, policymakers know the skills, scope, and value of family docs. You'll learn the value of building relationships with your community and the other professionals in it for advocating for yourself in family medicine. On a state and national level, this is done by the Academy and other specialty organizations. At the local level, what people know of family medicine is what people know of you. Finally, you'll learn that even though you thought residency was hard and stressful and long hours, practice will be too, if not more so. We know that burnout and stress impact a lot of practicing physicians. We know there are ways to mitigate this, but we have to be conscious of it. My advice to you is to be conscientious about how you spend your time. You've all heard me say this before, but I'll say it once again. Strive to be efficient in your work. Learn how to effectively use the computer system. Try not to multitask. It cannot be done. It just leads to medical errors. And ask for help and advice from others. Find a trusted colleague in your setting, both to ask questions of and to vent frustrations to. Learn how to say no when asked to do just one more little thing. Exercise and eat well, just like you tell your patients to. And last, stay curious. Curious about medicine, curious about the patient in front of you, and curious about all the things you can continue to learn. And so that, my friends, is what you've learned, and what you have in front of you. Graduation signifies the time when you stop being our trainees, and instead become our partners and colleagues. Just remember, still have 20 days left to go. I'm thrilled to have you all on board, and excited to see what your future holds. Thank you.
We are all following along in your program, so you all know what's next, because apparently you don't. So, this is the Family Practice Center Faculty Teacher of the Year Award. I first met this faculty member when he came to talk to us about getting out of debt efficiently. It's a topic that makes me immediately glaze over. Even so, when my advisor left for a new career opportunity, I knew I wanted this faculty to be my advisor. Perhaps I thought that by some on-paper association, my debt would also disappear. It hasn't, it's still there. But then there were things that we had in common. We both have kernels for fathers. We both have no vices, apparently. We both prefer stout as a beverage. But it is something for which we all strive that serves as the reason for this faculty winning our Faculty Teacher of the Year Award. For every medical decision, he has a logical argument. We've all heard those arguments? Yes. His work ethic is extraordinarily laudable. So one night at 3 a.m., helping me to get IV access on a patient that needed a heparin drip, the ED physician mistook this particular faculty member for an intern I was supervising. Dr. Noble, I'm never going to let you live that one down. The class of 2021 wishes to acknowledge how much you have taught us about dedication to the practice of medicine, about medical knowledge and where to look when you don't know, and about putting patients first, because patients are putting their life in your hands. Thank you for always being an Athena text or Tiger text away when there's a particularly daunting question or problem. Please do not change your cell phone number. Dr. Noble.
Thank you all very much. I'm not sure that I deserve it, and I'm a little bit stage shy.
All right, so next we have the Clinical Teacher of the Year Award. This past year, plus a few months, has been rough, as Dr. Roy said, COVID, tenuous job situation, social isolation, death and more death, and not a whole ton of treatments. We are all frontline workers for the pandemic, but today we want to recognize two of our clinical preceptors who are about as deep into the pandemic as you could get. Our intensive care physicians at Mercy One, Drs. Vysoki and Dr. Mehta. Despite being at times on every other week call, I believe one of you's here because the other one's on call, for the entire week, and at one point running 3 ICUs in the hospital, you both always took time to teach residents, especially during our ICU rotations. Anytime we co-manage patients with you, you are both very approachable. It was never scary to call you if you needed to ask a question or to change management or to get assistance with the crumping patient in the middle of the night. For that, we are very grateful. And that is why you both are the Clinical Teachers of the Year. Dr. Mehta and Dr. Ray.
Thank you all for challenging you, but everybody said residency cannot teach you anything. Even fellowships cannot teach you anything. COVID has proven everybody wrong. So I think you probably got more than you asked for the residency for the last year. So all the best for the future. Thank you. Thank you.
This year, we are including an additional award, Commitment to Family Medicine Education Award. Last October, this individual faced a very challenging decision that, regardless of the choices made, would result in many changes ahead for him. Following December, all the residents, faculty, and staff were brought together for an important announcement at 5 p.m. The announcement at the meeting left many concerned about the future of our program. Through it all, one individual acted as broker, mediator, and negotiator for things both seen and unseen in the program. Today, we want to recognize them for very quickly creating a workable solution for the future of this foundation and its continuation as a receiving program through enrollment. Today, you have spent many sleepless nights working for us and ensuring that our patients can continue to receive quality medical care through us. You have helped secure family medicine education for our future residents despite the challenges that we have faced thus far. We are proud to honor you and your work.
Yes. Instead of standard, that's just here.
So next is the commemoration of the foundation. At this time, we want to welcome our favorite volunteer faculty who commemorated 40 years at NEIMEF shortly after before his retirement. He was paid before that, now he's commentary. Dr. Friedman, please come to the podium.
Police told me I had 30 minutes, but I'll keep this. NEIMEF, Northeast Iowa Medical Education Foundation. This was the brainchild in 1977 of Dr. Charles A. Waterbury. We called him Art. He'd been a family physician in Waterloo for years. And his father before that, so what did he do? Everybody respected him. He said, hey, there's a reason we need to have a residency here. A few reasons. One is, we need to recruit good doctors. Almost all the doctors when I came in 1978 were old. I mean, like way old. And so he knew that we needed an infusion of young doctors, and he knew that we needed to be more academic. But he also knew that we needed to come together as a community. At the time, we had 3 hospitals. We had St. Francis, we had Shoyds, and we had Al. Okay, and they were all going different directions. And he said, we've got to come together. And so he formed this foundation, sponsored by all 3 hospitals. And only he could have done it, and he did it. And we started a program, or he started a program in 1978. He got Dr. Carl Young to come, who had been a practicing doc in LaPorte City for 20 years. A great academician. But they needed one more because there were 3 hospitals to cover. And so they advertised, and my mother saw the advertisement and said, look at that. So I saw that advertisement. At the time, we were in Kentucky in the National Health Service, and I said, well, that's Iowa. We're going. So I came up and interviewed. It was the only interview I had, and they offered me more money than I could possibly have imagined, and immediately took that job. And it was great. Dr. Young and Dr. Wondrich taught me a tremendous amount. It was a mom and pop organization. Okay, for 10 years or more, he ran it like a family practice that he had always done. And we got to do things that we did, and we didn't really have to follow many rules. But then comes the 90s. And I guess the Board of Family Medicine decided that they needed to toughen up and be more like the internal medicine residencies. And so they made all these rules and all these requirements. And we just weren't up to it. We just didn't practice that way. So we ended up in the 90s getting Dr. Sutherland, John Sutherland. He had been the head of the Department of Family Medicine at the Southern Illinois Medical School. So he knew administration, and he was a good doctor. And he brought us into the end of the 20th century, I guess you'd say. And really, we moved into this new building that we're in now, which is now an old building. And it really brought us into toward the 21st century. And then Dr. Day came, and oh my gosh, this guy has a mind, well, like an engineer. I mean, the schedules and rules, just did everything that a program director had to do, and it was just wonderful. And thank you very much. And, so then, what's happened? Well, things change in medicine, and I call it the corporatization of medicine, where big corporations are going to take over. We worried about that in the 90s. Oh, we'll be dead by then. But now here it is. We've been corporatized. And the corporations, Unity Point and Mercy One, have decided to go their own way. And, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think we're going to have 2 programs in the community now. We don't have to have 2 hospitals with residents going back and forth. One will be Allen and one will be Covenant, just like we always had. But instead of 18 residents, we'll have 21. Right? Yeah. So, I think it's a good thing. And I kind of look at it like mitosis. Okay, so we had one director, and then he divided, but the DNA was the same. Both of these, okay, they're the same, and so I guess there could be a mutation, but I don't think Tony's a mutant, and and I know Adam isn't a mutant. And there's no mutiny, okay? This is a good thing for our community, and for the residents, and for the residency. And so I think that I'm excited about it. So good luck with that, and I'm sure it'll go well. The other thing, Elise asked me to list some of the distinguished residents that we've had over the years. And that threw me for a loop, because to me, every resident that we've graduated has distinguished themselves. They're out there practicing every day in big communities and small communities, and ERs and hospitals, and delivering babies, and meaning so much to so many of the patients. And so I went ahead and tried to think of distinguished graduates. And I've listed them, you can read that later. I've listed them in the program and some of the things they've done. And you can look at that as maybe something you'd like to do, but that some of them have done. But I'll tell you, you know how I picked them? Because I could have picked any of the 250 graduates that we've had. I picked them because those are the ones that have kept in touch with me. Okay, so hint, okay? All right, so in your book here, on that page, the distinguished graduates, I want you to take out a pen or a pencil and write down 319-610-2028, okay? So you've got to text me and keep in touch, and then you can be one of these distinguished graduates. Okay? I want pictures. I want pictures of your kids. I want pictures of you when you have gray hair, okay? Or grayer hair. Or cut hair, or don't cut hair. So remember that number. Do you want me to say it again? 319-610-2028. And I'm never going to change that. So thanks for the opportunity to speak. How long did I go?
You're good.
Okay. The phone that I used, that Dr. Day was talking about, calling the future, I only went 10 years into the future. Okay, it was 10 years, it wasn't 30, it was 10 years. Okay, and so I had one call that I made back then. It was Dr. Pranger. Okay, he was graduating. And you all know Dr. Pranger. Yeah, he helps us with OB. And Dr. Pranger has many children. He has 13 children. But when I called him, at the time he was graduating, he had 4. Okay, and so 10 years after that, I said, well, how's it going, Bob? He says, well, just had number 12. Well, I was one off. Okay. That's memorable, Tony.
I believe after that one, whichever year it was, we managed to keep you from speaking for about 2 years. Later on, we kept you from speaking for almost 4 years. So, but every time, after a few years, you talk to the residents and you get your way back up here. So Dr. Friedman's very persistent. And I was worried. I was looking at this list of names, and I went, Dr. Noble, you're not in here, but he is. I just misread it, but I thought, wow, maybe he didn't keep in touch with you until he came back. Well, that's true. But since he came back, you put him in. That's good. That's good. Yeah, it was fun reading about some of these residents. I have to say that was good. Next on our agenda is the Society of Teachers of Family Medicine Resident Teacher of the Year Award. All residencies, faculty and residents are members of the Society of Teachers of Family Medicine, and one of the things they want us to do is to recognize one of the residents as a teacher within and certainly all of our graduating residents mentor and supervise and teach the junior residents. That's a normal part of what they do every day. But what we do is we ask them to vote. We ask all the other residents and faculty to vote on the resident in the senior graduating class who best exemplified teaching to their classmates and peers and juniors, and often they teach the faculty as well, because as Dr. Royce says, we're all still learning every day. So, so this year's honoree will come as no surprise to any of us.
Sorry.
That's Dr. Royce Oakes. This is Dr. Elise Dewey. You establish the protocol. And you're welcome. Once you have the protocol, then you have to call it the protocol.
So, he was the most quiet and shy resident in our class at orientation. Then when asked who wanted to be the class representative, he replied, "That surprised me." Then that he served as chief resident, though, no longer surprises me. Stanley has past experience as a leader through both college and medical school. What supported his leadership as academic chief resident included a strong sense of order and open, non-judgmental personality. I have come to appreciate Stanley's sense of order. As an example, his pen matches his business card holder, matches his nameplate on his desk, all brass. That sense of order served Stanley well as chief resident. In addition, he had marked success making plants grow on his desk. Stanley and I sit back to back in clinic. Our corner of the Silver Team office is hands down the best corner in clinic. Sitting near Stanley, I saw the daily struggles and heard the things you say when you think no one is listening. Even in those moments, Stanley did not judge. His openness was valuable in his interpersonal interactions with residents, including conflict resolution. Finally, he is the only chief resident I know who frequently has an avocado in his desk drawer. Stanley, it's been great to get to know you. I read recently, and it applies to all here today. I quote, "It is such a joy to practice medicine with those you love." Congratulations and thank you, Stanley.
My name is Stanley DeCars. I've been the chief resident for the last year. If I think of one quote relevant to my chief training that's come up, it's that dealing with all of these residents is like herding a bunch of cats. And I'm not much of a cat person. I'll keep it short and sweet. I have a couple thank yous to give out. To Dr. Day, you have been a great captain in a time of very, very unexpectedly choppy waters. Dr. Royce for keeping our academic intrigue alive. Dr. Hoovy, Dr. Munns as well for making sure we're holistic in how we do our patients. Dr. Noble for keeping us practical. Dr. Friedman for all of your wisdom. I have to say thank you for my class 2021. 6 of us came in 3 years ago, and 6 of us are going out as board certified family physicians. and I wouldn't do it again with anyone else. Thank you.
We're not exactly like a well-oiled machine, but we're getting there. So, a few years ago, the hospitals decided that it would be of value for them to recognize a resident of the year. And actually, it was Allen Hospital that started it, and Mercy One Covenant quickly jumped on board to do it as well, and so they each give an award each year. And the way they give these awards is they ask staff at the hospital, specialists, people that work with the residents in the hospital, who they think should be the resident of the year. And they always not only submit who they think, but reasons why in quotes. And so, starting first with the Allen Resident of the Year, Allen staff and physicians said about this resident, he's always been very easy to approach and displays a positive attitude. The nurses find him to be very personable, which is important to them. They feel like he listens to them in order to get what the patient needs, and is open to suggestions as they are the eyes and the ears of the patient. He takes these opportunities as a way to continue to learn and grow, and does not let ego get in the way. He practices with mutual respect for other members of the care team. So this year they have honored Dr. Andrew Chang.
It was on the bottom side, I was wondering. I'll just say that I thoroughly enjoyed working with the nurses there at Allen. I kind of taken aback because it's kind of hard receiving an award, but I just wanted to say thank you and express some gratitude. It's been just an honor.
Mercy One, staff and physician said this. She's very smart and engaging and easy to relate to. She values the opinions of nursing staff and responds promptly. She's an excellent patient advocate. She is by far deserving of Resident of the Year. She is a clear communicator, personable, appropriate, and listens to her patients. She's never rushed or too good to spend time with the care team. It's evident that she cares for her patients. We absolutely love her. She is going to make an awesome doctor. Congratulations, Dr. Hector. This is your first time.
Me and Dr. Moulton like to see stage show.
Dr. Haynes, I think you get to be next, our RD.
Well, good evening, everyone. Before I recognize Sarah Kadura tonight, I wanted to share a little bit of a brief history about our pharmacy residency program. It'll be brief. Our first pharmacy resident was back in 1998. It's hard to believe, but that's when our first one was. And then we skipped a year, and then we've had a resident every year since then. And then in 2010, Alicia and I were debating this a little bit in the back, but we were very fortunate to have Waverly Health Center become partners with our program. So since 2010, we've had a kind of a shared program with Waverly Health Center, which has just been an outstanding partnership, for our residency program. And Alicia is actually also a former graduate of our residency program. So maybe I should copy Dr. Friedman and have a list of the notable alumni from the pharmacy residency program. Just a thought.
Next year.
Next year, exactly. But tonight we do have two preceptors that have just been fantastic and have just been provided so much support for our program. So Betsy Fry in the back and Alicia Jonke, if you don't mind, please stand up. They are just both outstanding pharmacists and have been an absolute delight to work with over the years. So I'm very, very, very thankful for everything that they've done. So now I am excited to recognize Sarah Kadura as she's completed our PGY1 residency program. And Sarah is the 22nd graduate from our program. So 22nd. Sarah grew up in Cedar Rapids and she completed her Doctor of Pharmacy training at the University of Iowa. And she's had a remarkably successful year. It's one of the things I love about my job is I get to work with young, bright, really the creme de la creme, if you will, of the pharmacy realm, and Sarah really fits that mold. She's needless to say that she's very bright and a great pharmacist, but she is one of the things that I guess always impresses me about Sarah is just how professional she is. And I don't say that lightly. That she's just always appropriate, always professional, and just extremely pleasant to interact with. She's one of the most well-balanced individuals I've known, and I know this sounds almost maybe a little bit cliche, but I'm going to say it anyway. Sarah Kadura is probably one of the nicest individuals I've ever worked with, ever. And I'm not just saying like recent past, last decade, ever in my life I've had the pleasure of working with Sarah Kadura. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart, that I find her to be uplifting, peaceful, and just a genuinely, to the core, a very good person to have as a colleague. So I'm enormously proud of Sarah, especially during this year of COVID. She wasn't able to celebrate graduation a year ago. So tonight I'm especially delighted that she has family here with her. She has her father, Sam, who I'm still yet to meet, but I'm looking forward to that afterwards. And she has Eunice, her husband, here with her tonight as well, so glad they can both be here. Sarah has an enormously bright future ahead. She's recently accepted a position at the University of Iowa Hospitals and Clinics, and so she'll be moving to Iowa City, and she'll be working there in their specialty medication clinics. So Sarah's going to do a great job in a great facility. Dr. Day was making note of some favorite experiences that residents have had, and from Sarah, I found that her favorite experience this past year was when she worked on her research project, which evaluated healthcare professionals' perspectives on medical cannabis. Sarah did some earlier research on that theme, and it made a great research project for her. But what was impressive is that Sarah did a lot of background work. She had a great response to this survey. Had over 1,300 individuals that replied to that. So thank you if there are some of you in the room that did that. But she did put in a great deal of work and just did an outstanding job. So Sarah, please come forward and thank you for all of the great work and congratulations.
Thank you so much for those kind words, Jim. And I just want to say it's been an honor to work with you. And also thank you to Betsy and Alicia, too. You guys have been amazing. And the whole program, honestly, it's been such an honor. And I feel so lucky and blessed to have met so many amazing physicians and pharmacists who truly enriched, my life. And then, of course, I have to shout out my dad right here in the front. Sam has truly been there for me since day one, and I couldn't be on the stage, I couldn't be here at this point without him. So thank you, Dad, and thank you to everyone who's helped me to get to this point. Thank you to my husband, of course, too, right there. I gotta shout out now, otherwise I'll hear about it later. So yeah, just thank you, everyone, and I feel it's really blessed and honored to be a part of your program and be here tonight.
Now I have when you're at graduation, I found my notes up here and somebody picked them up and walked off with them. And,
I can put them back if you want.
Totally gone the rest of the night. So I held on to mine tonight, but I got to read his name. A few years ago at graduation, Dr. Friedman kind of began this tradition of going through each of the residents, graduating, and the families that were here, and talking about them, and telling stories as he often does. And then that had kind of become the keynote address for the last several years. As Dr. Royce said, he's not a storyteller and he didn't want to do that. I'm not really a storyteller and I wasn't going to do that either. But it was always interesting because Dr. Haynes would come up here and present his and do much what he did. Like tonight, I had a few things to say and then I got to the end and everything had been said about all the graduates. So it was always just kind of weird for me calling the name and handing you your diploma. So tonight I get to say a few words about each person. But what I did was ask the graduates and ask the faculty, and in some cases some staff as well, for some memories from their time here. And so very briefly about each one. And tonight we are going in reverse alphabetical order for those of you keeping score at home. So Ekta Patel is first. And this resident, Ekta, is all known to us by her shortened first name, Ekta, which always brings up a memory that we share. When we sit down on the inpatient service and go through patients, I always jot the name of the resident who's seen each of the patients. And for some reason that I still can't figure out, at some point, I started writing EXTA instead of EKTA. And I did this for days and days and weeks. But one day, Ekta was sitting next to me, and she saw me and said, "Dr. Day, you don't even know my name." So I quickly said, "No, I just write that because you're extra good." She didn't buy it either, so. No. When I asked, the memories that Ekta shared with us included several memories of faculty supporting her through her residency. Dr. Muntz consoling her after the first patient passed away. Dr. Royce bringing donuts at the end of a busy hospital round week. And Dr. Noble agreeing with her plan, just like she presented it. I know, it happens so much. Dr. Patel is going to begin her career doing urgent care and care now in Nexus, Kansas. So we'll miss her very much, but congratulations, Dr. Patel. I'm going to just let you go. And when everybody's up here at the end, we'll take pictures. You can just kind of stay there, be a fly on the wall. Tim, need you come up first? No. All right. Stanley. Stanley shared that his favorite memories come from orientation, back at the very beginning, and finally becoming a real adult, getting to meet all his classmates, move into Waterloo, new place, and get to know all the faculty. His second favorite memory was Dr. Friedman sending him home when he had an awful cold one day and fell asleep during sit-down practice. Speaking of Dr. Friedman shared a memory about Stanley clear back from the interview before Stanley ever started. Apparently during the interview, they began to talk about Stanley having purchased some Bitcoins. And apparently Dr. Friedman didn't seem all that excited about his purchase of Bitcoins. And Stanley decided to sell his Bitcoins. Probably fortunate to us because he might be independently wealthy if he held on. But at least there's still medicine for Stanley. Dr. Nicars will be a nocturnist at Apogee Penn Highlands Hospital in Dubois, Pennsylvania. Congratulations, Dr. Stanley. Shadi Mustafa. Shadi's most important memory was the first time a patient called him doctor. You know, residents are in a really unique situation as learning physicians. Many staff, hospital nurses, attending, sometimes call them learners, residents, even students sometimes. Hearing doctor is a really important piece of their development as personal family physicians. And so that's a great memory to have. When I asked the faculty for a memory about Shadi, pretty much all of them said, you know, he just works out, takes care of himself, eats healthy, stays really fit, and keeps track of every sporting event that anybody in the world can keep track of. So that's what they remembered about Dr. Mustafa. Dr. Mustafa is going to continue to do moonlighting and ER work around here while his wife finished residency training. So, congratulations. Inger shared that she remembers most hanging out in the rounding room at the hospital, even when she wasn't on the inpatient rotation. Just to vent, share donuts. She must have known when Dr. Royce was around. Dream about life and residence after residency, and realize that everyone else was as tired as she was. When I think about Inger, I think about the fact that it didn't matter how tired she was. She always smiled, and she was always kind and caring. Dr. Lee will be practicing at St. Charles Family Care Clinic in Sisters, Oregon, so we're really going to miss her. Congratulations, Dr. Lee. Because we all should have a guest with us. Elise Dewey. Elise has been up here already. I think we're getting back to now just the two people that have been up here the most, so okay. Elise shared fond memories of eating at Lincoln Park with Chris Haymaker, hiking at Hartman Reserve, and playing kitty in the corner, where she learned who was willing to take more risk and who were less eager. These are activities we do in our community medicine rotation to help residents with their personal wellness and development, and how that impacts their ability to serve their communities. What I remember about Elise is that eagerness to do everything. And early on in her training, that frustrated a lot of us. But later on, she finally admitted to me that she never expected to get to do everything, but she always thought it was good to ask. Her desire to ask and do more will serve her and her patients well. Dr. Dewey will be doing inpatient and outpatient care with Van Diest Medical Center in Webster City, Iowa, close to home, and she promises to come visit frequently. Congratulations, Dr. Dewey.
Real quick, there's still one more topic I haven't got to teach the faculty about, risk-based medicine, and we want to talk about that, so I will come back to this.
Andrew Chang. Andrew, I think you should get one of Inger's kids to bring up.
I don't think CJ would allow it. I'd bring butter, but he's not.
Andrew shared a couple of fond memories of two of our team building activities, kayaking and beating an escape room in Cedar Falls. Dr. Munz shared that she'll remember Andrew frequenting her candy dish in her office and saying he needed to stay, quote, fat and sassy. But also the many times that he would babysit to assist his classmate Inger. It was definitely like he was part of their family. Dr. Chang will be starting a one-year fellowship in hospice care and palliative medicine at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Congratulations, Dr. Andrew Chang. Yes. So if we have the residents come up for photo ops, family, stuff can take photos and stuff, there is dessert.
Back corner.
In the back corner, is that the?
Coffee and tea and dessert.
There's coffee and tea and dessert in the back. Feel free to get up and help yourself. Greet the residents after they get photos taken and stuff, and mingle and enjoy what's left of our evening. Thank you all very much for coming.
So that is it for ceremony. There's the back.
You guys got some dessert? I think people
Yeah. I know. Did hurt?
Who's gonna take a picture?